Hello. Hello, hello, and welcome to Lipedema Wellness Conversations with Gail. That would be me and friends. And I'm going to introduce my friends here in just a bit. We have been so fortunate to have these two wonderful ladies with us. I think I just lost Gerri. Um, so we have one person here with us. We're going to have two tonight. The first one that I'm going to introduce is Fiona O'Brien. Fiona is from New Zealand, and I'm going to bring Gerri back onto the stage. Here you go. Hi, Gerri.
And my volume has corrected, Gail, so we're good.
Volume was corrected. Good. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties, having a hard time getting started, not just with our own devices, but with the platform itself. And kept saying, lots of traffic. Please wait. Try again in 30 seconds. I've never had that before. So apparently there's a lot of traffic out there right now on StreamYard. Anyway, welcome to this show. I see Sherry's here. Hi, Sherry. And so let me start over again. I want to introduce Fiona O'Brien. She has a handle of Bee Girl. She is from New Zealand. And Gerri Hammill. Wave to us, Gerri.
Hello.
Okay, she wasn't frozen. And Gerri, where are you hailing from tonight?
About Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So anyway, so as we can tell, Sherry's like, "Hi, Gail. Hi, Fiona. Looking good. Hi." With like even many more eyes for Gerri. It's good to see you too, Sherry. So as we get started, one of the things I like to do is I like to have our guests introduce themselves. So Fiona, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Gail. Yes, my name is Fiona O'Brien. I am from New Zealand. It's beautiful and wintry today. The sun is shining. We've had a lot of fog and it's been dreary. So nice to have sun today. I celebrate this year 10 years diagnosed with lipedema. Lipedema as well. So I don't like that. Something's happening to my computer. So it's a big sort of celebration year for me because I spent the prior almost 30 years with no diagnosis. So it's really good to have that diagnosis. Yeah, so that's really what I would like to say at this stage.
So now you say that you're celebrating 10 years knowing that you have lipedema. So you having a diagnosis because you lived with it a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
And so you actually are celebrating the knowledge of now you know what to do with it. That's a wonderful way to do it. Now, Gerri, I have you on mute because I think we're catching some feedback from you. Oh, yes.
Yes, we are.
Let's see. Okay, now let me see what happens. Oh, Gerri. I still have feedback. So audio feedback. And I'm not quite sure how to fix it. Would you go ahead and log off and log back in, and let's see if it happens again.
All right.
Okay. So one of the things, and I'm so grateful that everybody here is so patient with us as we get going, because sometimes, we're coming from two halves of the world, really, both sides of the world. And we never know what happens with our technology. And we all use different devices, and we all have different technological savvy or not so savviness. And so I'm grateful that everybody who is here today is patient with us. So Fiona, as we wait for Gerri to come back, I would love for you to share with us how you found out you had lipedema.
So my dad was one of 13 children. He was number 12, and the 13th child died with my grandmother, actually. And so Dad was adopted out, and in fact, a lot of the little ones in the family were fostered out, adopted out. So, as a family, we didn't live together. We didn't grow up. We grew up in two different islands, between the North Island and the South Island. And so, slowly over the years, my dad has made contact. He knew of them, but times and ages and restriction by adoptive parents, all that kind of stuff. So he's made some contact. We've met some of them, and exactly 10 years ago this year, there was 6 of them left alive, and then in the year 3 of them died. So I went to 3 family funerals, and my cousin said to me, isn't it funny? We think we get our lipedema through our mothers, but my cousin said to me, what are you going to do about your legs? Because my legs, were typical lipedema legs. And I was like, who are these people to comment about my legs? We're very protective of our bodies. And I think the bigger we get, people are always staring at us, they've got opinions about why we are like we are. So after the 3rd funeral, I was referred into the hospital system here in New Zealand, and I was able to get an assessment confirmed because my cousin said you have lipedema. And so I went into hospital, and then I started the process of, looking after my skin, wrapping initially before I got my compression garments. And probably for the first 7 years, all I did was compression. I didn't understand anything more about this disease until I really got involved with Lipedema Simplified and finding out information. And from that, I've been able to work towards things like going to the pool, things like working on what the things are that I'm eating. The keto, for me, keto kind of way and low carb way has been very successful. I still am a really good body shape, moderate, stage 3 severe kind of body shape, but I'm okay about that because I now understand what I have. It's lipedema, and so I can work with that. So when I say I celebrate 10 years, it's really nice knowing what you have and knowing that you can work with a lipedema body. You can achieve some lipedema health, some good progress towards lipedema health. Things that I had not been able to obtain successfully under the banner of obesity. I had not been able to lose weight. I had not been able to get, I started to lose mobility, and I couldn't do the exercise. All those things that are driven at you as examples of what you should be doing to lose weight. But of course, with lipedema, it's a totally different pathway. You're looking at a totally different disease than just general obesity.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now we're going to do a sound check with Gerri. So Fiona, thank you for that. It really amazes me that you had family members out there who knew what lipedema was, and then you showed up and they're going, girl, you've got this too. But so that's amazing. Gerri, will you unmute yourself, please? Okay.
How are we doing?
Okay, let me do a sound check. Oh, cool. We're doing really good. Can you hear us?
Okay. I can.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Gerri, we just heard Fiona's finding out story, the story that how she found out that she had lipedema. And so what can you tell us? How did you find out that you have lipedema?
I moved to a new area, and my primary care physician, or GP, had said, do you realize you have lymphedema? And I said, I don't even know what that is. And I was a nurse, but I had no clue, what she was referring to. So started looking into information on that. She ordered compression garments, and she ordered MLD, and started through those processes, and noticed the fluid being reduced on my legs with those. It was probably another 6 or 7 years I ran into articles by Catherine, and she was just starting to offer, that was in 2017 or 2016, she was just thinking about offering the masterclass, the first masterclass. So I signed up for that after talking with her, because she said to me, she was trying to convince me to sign into the masterclass, and I said, I'm really not sure, And she looked through my Facebook and she said, I can tell you now, you are very like third or fourth stage of lipedema. And I sat up and listened because I was recognizing the photos that I was seeing for lipedema. And I thought, those are my legs. That's my body. That is exactly what I've grown up and is continuing to worsen. At that time, I was going through menopause. So I was going through another surge of putting on more weight. So through Lipedema Simplified, I found a provider through the provider directory, and he was in Cleveland Clinic. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I went to see him, and he said, so tell me your symptoms. He said, no, wait a minute. Let me tell you what you are suffering. And he started clicking off every single symptom I had. The only weird symptom was, he said, can you touch your tongue with your nose? I think we've talked about this, Gail. Can you touch your tongue to your nose? I said, yeah. He's like, that's part of lipedema. He said, that's that elasticity that you have, with the hypermobility of your joints and the elasticity of your tissues. And he said, he was so excited. He's like, finally, I get to see one of my patients have this. Can I take a picture? Oh, sure. Let's just put that in the medical books. So anyhow, I was diagnosed twice. First time was through Catherine, which, we know is not a true medical diagnosis, but she is the one who definitely set me on the path. And the second time was with Dr. Bartholomew. Fiona, what are you trying to do? See if it works. But anyhow.
Y'all are.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge to everybody on the call. Everybody who's watching right now or watching the replay.
It's a challenge.
Your tongue can touch your nose. I was told by my mom that I was like a cow. My tongue was like a cow because it came out so far. And I can touch.
Yeah.
Touch my chin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like.
Almost.
Okay, so if you can touch your tongue either to your chin or to your nose, make sure you put that in the comments, everybody who's watching right now, because yes,
love to know if there's more out there.
It says right here, tongue to nose, giggle.
Yep, tongue to nose.
Yeah, isn't that a riot? You don't think about those things. I mean, I know that. And yeah, Sherry can touch her nose. So it's really interesting because we're told that lipedema, we say, hey, is lipedema a fat disorder? Yes, check mark. Is lipedema a lymphatic disorder? Yes, check mark. Is lipedema a connective tissue disorder? Or does it, maybe disorder isn't necessarily the right word, but has connective tissue tendencies
dysfunction.
of dysfunction of some sort. Yes, chick. But and then like Anne Marie says, no, I can't do that, but I can touch my toes and beyond very easily. Now I'm thinking you're talking about with your hands and not your tongue, Anne Marie.
Oh, please.
But I know. I can actually stand and put my hands flat on the floor. And I do. I've always thought that it was because all my weight was behind me instead of in front of me, right? But from what I've heard, a lot of people can actually, they have that bend that they can bend all the way down and touch the floor. And Emery says yes, her hands. So we have Marian Howard. I want to talk to some of the people who are in the audience because, boy, by golly, Jerry, that got a whole lot of response. So Sherry is here from South Florida. Patsy's here from Southwest Arkansas. Paige is here. She's someplace Southern. I love her accent. Nancy's here. Nancy Smith. Anne Marie from New Jersey is here. Hi, you guys. Marian Howard, she's a new tribe member. She's from Great View, Washington. Hi from Boise, Idaho. Patsy's here. And let's see who else is here. I haven't seen yet. My Apex Odyssey. And she says, I can touch my tongue to my nose, but I trained myself to do that when I was a teenager. I don't know if that counts. It counts.
Okay.
If you have this talent, it counts. And then let's see. Net Shen says, if I can't touch my tongue to my nose or my chin, does that mean I don't have lipedema? I don't believe so. No. I have been diagnosed by a physical therapist as having it. I have many other symptoms. Yeah, it's just one tricky little thing that shows a lot of elasticity, a lot of connective tissue things. And here's another thing. Also, there are people who have a tongue that's tighter because of that band. But it appears that Jerry's told this story before, and it appears that that is something that actually shows maybe a little bit more of a looser connective tissue.
Yeah,
And
but he had been in practice for about 40 years, and he said that was the first time he had heard of it, but he had never actually seen it in one of his patients. So, yes, it definitely does not mean if you can't do it that you don't have lipedema. It's just
yeah,
one of the little quirks.
right. So we all have so many different symptoms that express themselves. And then Paige says, so all of these things are with lipedema and not just EDS. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Yes, it's true. They're comorbidities, EDS and lipedema. But that doesn't mean because you have Ehlers-Danlos that you have lipedema, or because you have lipedema you have Ehlers-Danlos. They're very often interconnected.
I think there's some stats there, Gail, that said something like 60% of women who have lipedema have EDS. That's some stats. So there's a higher chance.
Yeah. And I want to say hi to Annette, because her name is Annette, not Net Shen. I just got Net Chin 62. So hi, Annette. And yeah, you're right. Because of that 60% chance, and it's because there's something that's all connected in there, like one it's like how many of us have venous issues, right? Like I have venous insufficiency. Is it because the walls of my veins are softer due to connective tissue disorder, or is it a cause of lipedema? Is it just somehow it all runs together? We don't know. They're looking at all kinds of stuff, all those connections. Marian Howard has said that her daughter's been diagnosed. Here's another one. She can't touch her nose with her tongue, but her knees hyperextend. So thank you for sharing that, Lisa. Here's another one. How many of us have heard this one? I was told by my high school PE teacher that I was very flexible for a girl your size. Oh, don't get me started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, for girls our size, right? So anyway, thank you, everyone, for sharing your comments and your experience as well. We were so fortunate, Jerry and Fiona both were fortunate to have had a very active, I would say, very active Lipedema Awareness Month. And I want to ask both of you, and it doesn't matter which one of you choose to go first, but I'd like to ask both of you, what did you guys do for Lipedema Awareness Month? I mean, it feels like it was forever ago to me, but it was just like 10 days ago, So what did you guys do? Who'd like to start?
Go ahead, Fee.
Oh, put me in the hot seat.
Go ahead. You have the most details.
I'm the best storyteller, is that right? So I
Yeah.
always look at it, we said the month of June, and I always look at it, my birthday is not just on the day. I look at it that my birthday is like for about 5 or 7 days either side, like you catch up with friends and stuff. So in May, at the very end of May, I was involved with the Lymph Info Trust in New Zealand. We had an education day in Wellington, which is our capital. And so that was a whole day of talking about all lymphatic kind of conditions. And I had a slot about lipedema. So I started my party for June at the end of May. And then a couple of weeks into June, we had the GP, or the primary care physician conference, in Rotorua, which is our thermal area in the middle of the North Island. And that was for 3 days. So I the Lymph Info Trust and I were invited onto the stand of MediRent, which are the people that do compression pumps and rent compression pumps out in New Zealand. So we had an awesome time. It was a bit challenging for me because I did a lot of thinking around how I was going to present myself to these people so that they would stop and chat to me, and how I would get into their heads about what a lipedema body looked like. So I sort of like threw all my my fears out the window a little bit, and I went dressed in not my underwear. Well, I did have that, but over the top, I had like black capri kind of tights and black singlet, because I figured black makes me look smaller, that old things that are in the back of your head. And I stood in front of a banner with the legs, the lipedema legs, and another banner, what we called it the bare necessities of lipedema. That is like the things that we need as the base for our healthcare, which is, we do need the bare necessities, being the clothing, which is the compression garments, the food that we're eating, what is that pathway, inflammation. And there was a couple of other things. And I'm not going to tell you all of it because Catherine is going to include me in the 3-day event program that's coming up later. So I don't want to spoil it all. But I talked to these people, and was interesting responses. I probably spoke to one male, okay, and that was because I knew this doctor and I invited her in by name. All the others went past, looked the other way and went past, which was interesting. And one lady doctor who would be 10 years in practice spent over about 3 hours, an hour and a half with me. She was amazing. And at the end, we hugged and cried because she got it. She will be a fantastic doctor in the region she is working in. I just know by her compassion and her questions. So that was 3 days of that. And then later on in the month, we did some experiments during the conference, but I can't tell you that either because that's going to be for the 3-day event, which is kind of fun. And then later on, I spoke to a group of podiatrists in the Waikato region because, I have my nails done, my toenails are done. I'm a diabetic as well. So I get funded through the government to get my toenails done and my feet looked at and checked as part of the diabetes program. And so I've been talking with my podiatrist for like a year. Like you go to the hairdresser and you have a chat with the hairdresser. Well, I have a chat with the podiatrist. And I said to her, do you have any other women that may have lipedema? And she said, I think I do, actually. And then, so we're going to work on that in a little while. But I said to her, would she be interested in June in me speaking with some podiatrists? And she said, yes, we've got a group. So one frosty, cold evening in the middle of the night, I went to Hamilton and I gave ended up being 2 hours presentation it was chat and conversation and cheese and grapes and, don't want to talk about the food, keto stuff, of course, and I was talking to men and women, and there's about 12 of them, and talked about how they sit at our feet. They see from the bottom. What do they see? They may see trousers covered legs, or they may see legs with skirts from the knees down. They're going to see our feet. From that, can they in any way identify that we need some help and have a conversation, like a chit-chat kind of conversation, that they can then refer back to our doctor? Because when she's done my toes, she has to do report back to my doctor what she's done. That's part of the, the process of it goes in. So do they have an opportunity to actually refer back to the doctor and say, hey, has this person been assessed for? Does she have, can you, go down that pathway? So I found that really great to be, and they were excited. And I gave them a whole bunch of postcards from that I'd got printed up as part of Lipedema Awareness, the Lipedema Simplified postcards, and I was able to give them big bundles of them to take them away. So I think that's basically all I've done, other than I've had other conversations. But those were my major 3 things. And I didn't host a tribe event this year because last year I hosted it and there was only 4 people, and I felt that my energies could be better expended. This disease is quite tiring. I felt that my energies could be best expended doing the different things that I did. I got a bigger audience, and therefore it can ripple out further. So that was me.
Wow. When you say, I hadn't heard about the podiatrist yet. And so when you talk about that, I'm thinking, I wonder how many pedicurists are look at these feet, and then above they see this cuffed ankle, or maybe how many of us don't get pedicures because the massage of the calves hurts. I know that my Aunt Sandy, she tells them, don't touch the calves, don't touch, only ankles down, because her calves are so tender. And so it makes me wonder how many podiatrists look at the foot in front of them and look up and see that ankle as well, and don't know that ankle cuff is, possibly lipedema, right? That there's something that their patient needs to be referred for. That's brilliant, Fee. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us, because as those of you who are in the audience, if you've ever had a podiatrist or someone who does a pedicure for you comment about your ankles, or you wonder, maybe they see more women with these calves, the same type of calves that you have. That'd be interesting to know what is either said, or how if you're even comfortable having somebody take care of your feet. So thank you so much. Gerri, do you have anything to talk about with that? Talk to, reflect
Well,
on that one.
it's so funny that you had said about the podiatrist, because when I just went a week ago, and I took one of the postcards for the clinicians with me. And he's never said anything. My podiatrist previous had asked me if I have lymphedema or lipedema, and we talked about it. But this podiatrist had never said anything. So anyhow, at the end of the exam, I gave him the postcard and explained a little bit about it. And he said, "This is great." He said, "I'm so excited to take a look at this." He said, "Because I don't know what else I can do to offer to my patients." So when you said that, I never really even thought about them looking up and seeing the ankle cuffs or the calves or the bandages. So mostly it was from the bandages. When I go in with my I don't wear garments, I wear compression wraps. And when I go in with them, frequently they'll say, "Oh, you have edema." No, I have lipedema. I have lymphedema. So, and we have conversations from there. But the month of June, I did host a tribe circle, heart to heart circle. I had 2 ladies sign up for it, and one of them canceled at the last minute. She had another arrangement. And so this one lady and I met, and we had the most delightful conversation for an hour, and agreed that we were going to meet again and offer either virtual or in-person meetings, support group, because she said she had never met anybody else who had lipedema. And she was probably a stage 1, maybe progressing to a stage 2. She had lost some weight, so she was, between the 2. And but we had a lot of the same symptoms and a lot of the same questions, and she was uncertain, and she was a researcher by nature, and she said, she's been looking and scouring everything she can. So I gave her some links to look at. Uh, and it was a wonderful conversation, just to meet somebody face to face and to uh, have a conversation that you don't have to. It's like our virtual groups. You don't have to explain what they don't. Uh, yeah, how do I say it? When you don't know what you don't know, but you can understand when somebody says, "Well, I have this and I have that." And if you have the disease, you understand it. You understand. You don't have to go through all the explanations of everything. So, um, and I also signed on to the virtual, um, the heart to heart tribe circle that we had at, I think, the June 30th. That was like the last day of June, the virtual meeting we had. And that was a delight also, because it's like, it's sort of like during the conferences when you have those break off rooms where you meet with 4 or 5 people, and it's nice because you have time to have a conversation with everybody and you get to hear everybody's, different opinions and experiences. So I like the smaller groups that are meeting, but I think it's wonderful that Fee and so many of the other ladies who had large groups and were able to address professional as well as patients, the word that they're getting out there, the ripples that we're causing. I think it's phenomenal. I'm really excited about you this past June. I hope we see a lot of good things from it.
Yeah, and when you said, that it's a ripple, it really is. I mean, it's kinda like the old Prel commercial, "You tell 2 friends, and they'll
Mhm.
tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends." And you carried a postcard with you, and Fiona had a pile, 500 postcards printed of
of
of each
each
of
of each
each, and
one.
we have
Wow.
2 main postcards, and, I wanna say that wasn't inexpensive because I know how much postcards cost to have printed up, but that was a gift to the community by Fiona by sharing it with, the people who are coming through that conference, and Jerry, you're sharing it with, care providers. The thing is where are these postcards? Well, I'm gonna put in the link, I'm gonna put where you can find those postcards. And here I feel like I'm boosting this again, but we have a a website. It's a gift to the community. It was created by the community. In fact, Jerry is one of the creators. We had 5 women working together on building this. It's called Emmy's Box of Hope. Emmy is a cute little flying pig who doesn't know that pigs don't fly, so she's our mascot because we don't know that we have limitations, and, we keep going out there and finding new ways to live our best possible lives. We don't know we have limitations, so, that's why Emmy is our mascot. So we call this link in here, it's called Emmy's Box of Hope. This is our gift to the big, broader community. You will find all kinds of things in there to learn about, to things to connect with, things that make you feel like you belong. But one of the things in there is our postcards. One's a postcard that says, "Do your legs look like this?" Because so many of us go, "Oh my gosh, my legs look like that." And the other one says, "Do you have patients who have legs that look like this?" And that's for clinicians. And we just lost here comes Jerry will come back in. There she is.
What
Um,
happened to me?
I don't know, you disappeared for one short minute and popped back in like it was a glitch. Anyways,
I
so
don't know. But anyway,
so
these are what the postcards look
there
like.
she goes. So they're
I
just a
just carry them around with me. This is for the patients.
and it says,
Yeah.
we get you a virtual hug right away, and then the other
Yep.
one has a link on it that you can, a QR code that your clinician can actually click on, use, and go right into a a website for clinicians. It's called Clinicians to Clinicians. So often our
Yeah.
clinicians don't necessarily trust our voice about something, but they trust another clinician's voice. And so we have a Clinicians to Clinicians site as well. So if you get a chance, I've dropped it in the comments. If you have never clicked on a link ever in your entire life, click on this one. It's free, and it will give you all kinds of free resources. One of the things that will happen is when you first click on it, it will say, "Give me my free downloads now," or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. Of course, it probably says get free resources on there. Just click on that link and keep going. And when you register, you'll go right into Emmy's Box of Hope. And it's such an amazing thing. Gerri Hammill, Judy Green, Deborah Jersick, Blanche Pepitone, and Julie Stewart were the 5 community members that worked on that, and they're continuing to work on it.
Mhm.
Jody Gould says, "Can you order these?" So, Jody, what you do with it is when you go into Emmy's Box of Hope and you find the postcards, you can actually download those and print those out. So, I know I got mine done at UPS.
I got mine done online. I
Yeah,
got the artwork sent through, and I went on. We had access to a place called Vistaprint, but there's so many different places you can log into, and I just uploaded the artwork into there, and they printed them off. It was fantastic.
yeah.
And
So
I did mine at Staples. So
yeah,
yeah.
and you just print them off back and front, 2 sides. And yeah, you're right. It's so Vistaprint would probably be less expensive than me ordering, 60 at UPS, because now it's a special order and it's a special size that they're not used to. They don't create for me all the time. So, but you can go into Emmy's Box of Hope and you can print off those postcards for yourself. Order as many as you want, whether it's 1 or 2. Some people actually will take them not as postcards and they print them off on just a blank piece of paper and take that to their provider. There are other resources in Emmy's Box of Hope as well. And you would be surprised what you'll find in there. So please consider this a gift to the lipedema community from Lipedema Simplified and Lipedema Project. Another, okay, Jody got that. Great. Another thing that is really, go ahead, Fiona.
I'm just going to say, sometimes in our lives, with lipedema is so expensive in itself, the things that we have to do. And when I went to do the banners, I got this print to do my big banners as well. My mum said to me, "I'm going to sponsor a banner for you." And there's another person in our Lipedema Simplified community who said, "I'm going to give you some money towards that." And someone else said, "I'm going to give you something else towards that." So if you can't afford it, actually there may be some people around you who may be willing to help you, knowing full well that there's going to be a lot of people benefit from that. And I just want to bring that into the conversation, because if you can't afford, don't give up. If you can get
Yes,
it another way, that's what I'm just want to say.
right. And sometimes it's just as simple as letting someone know that what you're doing and why, and that's advocating for yourself, but it's also advocating for the people around you, because the people around you want to help. They really do. And I want to kind of share a story about that as well. We were on a webinar not too long ago, before the last heart to heart event that we had, and one of the women in the webinar, she could sure use going to the heart to heart event, and but she just couldn't figure out how she was going to pay for her no, it's not tuition, pay for her ticket to go to it. And someone right there in the chat said, "I'll sponsor you." So if, we, like you say, it's expensive to have
Beautiful.
it was amazing because right then it was like, boom, I'll sponsor you. I know, right? How can those of us know your need if we don't know your need? So, you can say those things. It takes a lot of courage, and sometimes you just can't say it. But hopefully, as you become more and more aware of the community, you're able to share a little bit more inside the community. Some of us haven't felt safe in a very long time simply because we feel so judged. But we're all in the same boat. We want to see you in their boat with us. We really do. Or as Catherine calls it, we're all in the same sandbox.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up, Fiona, about when you mention something, you might get a sponsor. You might not have to ask for help as long as someone knows what you're doing. So, one of the other things I want to share, Gerri said that was it you, Gerri, who said you went to a provider in the provider directory?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went through that with the lipedema. Well, I guess it's on the lipedema project, the provider directory. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the
And yeah, I
Lipedema
went through
project.
there.
So I'm going to drop the provider directory into the comments in the chat. The beautiful thing about this provider directory is that it was actually built by the community. So Lipedema Simplified, Lipedema Project, we don't go out and go, okay, where's a list of doctors? Let's go and let's vet a bunch of doctors. We don't have manpower like that. That's crazy, right? We can't go through and vet a bunch of doctors. So what we do is we rely on the community to vet the doctors and the clinicians, all the care providers. We're relying on you to share with us your providers that have been so helpful. And so check out this directory and see if your provider is in there. If your provider is not in there and you have a really good provider, reach out to support. I'm putting it in the chat as well. Support at Lipedema hyphen simplified. I have to always spell it because otherwise I'm going to miss a letter. Support at lipedema-simplified.org and let them know that you have a provider that you'd like to add to the provider directory. If your provider isn't in there and you really think other people need to know about that particular provider. These are doctors, these are physical therapists, these are manual lymph drainage or lymphatic therapists, your CLTs, whoever you get your care from for your lipedema, make sure that if you would like to see them in the provider directory, reach out to support at lipedema-simplified.org. Okay. I have one more thing I got to talk about. Then we're going to go look at people in the audience, okay? The next thing I need to talk to you about is so important. And I don't know, Fiona and Gerri, I don't know if you have gotten a chance to take a look at it. It's called the Roadmap for Diagnosing Lipedema. It's by Lipedema Project. And I am going to put this link in there. So it wasn't that long ago that or I should say 10 authors got together. Catherine, Leslyn, Siobhan, Dr. Carmody, Dr. Roxon, and the list goes on. They got together and they wrote a paper. And that paper is called the Proposed Framework for, let me get it. Proposed Framework for Research Case Definitions of Lipedema. Big mouthful, big beautiful paper that they wrote. Now, it's a lot. So if you had a one-pager that had stuff for the doctor on one side and stuff for you on the other side, wouldn't that be an amazing paper? So they did a synopsis, they broke things down, and this is like the grabber. This is the one pager that if you read it and take it to your doctor and your doctor goes, yeah, no, you don't fit into any of this. And you flip it over and go, yeah, but look at what I have on the back, right? So one side is for the patient to guide the patient, and the other side is to guide the clinician. And so the roadmap for diagnosing lipedema is another gift that we're giving to the community. So make sure that you get a chance to go to this link and print it out and take it to your clinician. It's an amazing one pager. See, I'm not going to sit down and read 10 pages. I'll read one, because too many words. Okay, so with that, let me pop that off of there so I can get a full picture of Jerry. And there, now you guys are back. So here, I'm going to look at some of the comments because we have some things I think to address. Sherry Simmons tells us, especially you two, thank you for being who you are and for the work that you do for the lipedema community. You're always advocating and promoting awareness. You have a beautiful giving heart, Fiona. So she said that right after your story. So that's our Sherry from South Florida. Okay. And then there's this one. I got my toenails done once because they asked why my legs, feet, and ankles were so large, and that was before I was diagnosed, and I've never had it done again. I know. It's that's harsh, right? But sometimes it's an important thing to protect ourselves like that, like don't go back. But if you ever feel brave enough to do it again, can't find another lipedema lady and go together. That's what I would say to do.
Take postcards.
Yeah, and take them the postcards. You're right. These are my legs, girls. Don't talk about my legs. And then let's see. Here's another one, and I've heard this recently. We've had other people who've had fractures. Suzette had a hairline fracture in her foot. The podiatrist did talk about the size of my calves because if the surgical shoe wouldn't work, I would have to have a plaster cast because the boot would not fit. Have either one of you dealt with that situation? What can you share about that?
I have. I had a stress fracture. I was out cleaning off my car and just slid on a piece of ice and got a stress fracture on the side of my left foot. And they could not find the boot to fit because he wanted me to be in a walker boot. So I had to go to a special orthotic place where they could build on the extra calf size and to be able to wear this boot. And it was a little bit humiliating, but they worked it out. I'm thinking that I can't be the only one this size out in the world here, so they were able to work it out and it healed. But I still have trouble with that. But for the lady who won't go back or did not go back to the podiatrist, please go. It's for your own benefit and for your own safety. Try to find somebody who's a little bit more compassionate and take a postcard with you or that roadmap and educate them, because we shouldn't have to deny ourselves medical care because of the attitudes that are out there.
Yeah. And did she say podiatrist or
got her toes done, I think.
I thought.
Get her toes done.
She had her toes done.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been a like a mani-pedi kind of deal.
Pedicurist, right. And
yeah.
So yeah, it's so often. I remember I got so it was last fall, shortly after my husband's heart surgery and all the surgeries that went through in in my life last fall, right? And I was in Virginia and I was getting a pedicure. And the woman who was doing the pedicure, she started working my foot, and whatever she did started the tears coming down, right? I mean, she hit that like reflexology. And I will tell you that massage in our feet it's so valuable, but she hit that nerve in my foot, or that space in my foot, that released the tears. And I needed that pedicure so bad. It was so healing for that pet. When I got my feet done that day, that foot massage was so healing for me, because I was yeah, all the stress, all that stuff, I was just able to I sat in her chair and cried, right? And I needed that. And so sometimes when we think about what what we hide from the world, how we stay hidden, we don't want people seeing something. Sometimes we really do need that physical touch. Sometimes we need to take good care of our toes, take good care of our tootsies, right? And I remember she looked up at me and she asked me if I was okay. And I just looked at her and I said, "Don't stop." Don't stop. Please don't stop. Let me cry. I was so afraid that the tears were going to get shut off and I needed to cry. But yeah, so think about, this July is a month of self-care. That's our focus this month for Lipedema Simplified and Lipedema Project. We're focusing on self-care. And so think about it. Think about how you're going to take care of yourself. So Julie says that we need to educate our podiatrists on lipedema. They all need education on lipedema. So let's think about that too. Who can we hand those postcards to this month? Anyway.
Gail, can I just come back to the woman about the toes?
Yes.
I remember reading some research once about anti-fat bias. That is when people, treat us as fat people and they don't give us care and attention because of their bias. And in this research that was done on medical people, actually, when they pointed it out to the medical people that they were displaying this anti-fat bias, a good percentage, 70 or 80% of them, were horrified to think that they actually portrayed or displayed this bias. It was never their intention to do that, which forms for me a pathway for education. It means if I can educate that person as to why I am like I am, they don't want to be anti-fat biased. They're more than willing to accept that I have a health condition. So by us using things like resources like the postcards, when we go to appointments like this, if we can educate that person, that will help them in treating someone else. And I think genuinely people don't want to treat us, as fat and obese. We'll always get people on the outside at either end of the curve who are rude and horrible, or who just actually don't care what we look like at all, at that other end. But that's my hope about education. So with the person with the toes, please go back, but take your postcard. Anyone,
Yeah.
please take your postcard. Yeah.
Oh, and see, Dottie says this: broke a tendon in my big toe and the doctor refused surgery due to no boot to fit me. So they just let you heal improperly. It doesn't see to it just You're right, that anti-fat bias. Now maybe the doctor didn't have a fat bias, but actually didn't know resources. I mean, really, how do you not take care of somebody? You I don't know. For me, I want to I'm so sorry, Dottie. That's miserable. That's just miserable. It's like those of us who need knee replacements or hip replacements, and they won't dig in because our BMI, which is a crock of stuff, because our BMI is wrong. It's too high, apparently. And Annette says, Annette says this: I cried when the PT diagnosed me and explained how it doesn't go away with normal diet and exercise. I had been told by so many different doctors to lose weight, yeah. And Fiona has a really good comment she has a really good presentation about breaking out of the cage of the diet mentality, of the obesity mentality. Go ahead, Fiona, if you have. Well, how would you respond to this? Both of you. Feel free.
I think the first thing is a lot of providers don't understand that we can have lipedema care. So whilst they turn around and say there's nothing you can do from it, that's the worst thing. It's because they don't understand the disease. They have not been trained on what it is that we need to actually live a full life with lipedema. So I talk about, a person like me who started my journey. I had an obesity body and a lipedema body. So going on my journey, I have lost some weight by looking after my lipedema self. What I've lost is the obesity part, and I'm almost left with the perfect lipedema body. Can I do anything about the lipedema body? No, probably if I did surgery, but for 95% of women, that's not going to be an option. Okay, so I'm okay about that, but I now have the perfect lipedema body. Okay, so when I said I could never lose weight, well, because I had too much carbohydrate. That was the biggest thing. And eating low carb and keto, we've been told for so long, don't eat white bread, eat healthy grain bread, or don't eat white rice, eat brown rice. In fact, all of that was carbohydrate. And I always say no. For me, I couldn't eat any of that. Once I took that stuff out of my eating, I couldn't believe over 3 years I lost, 60 something pounds. I'm trying to think what that is converted from kilos. So your body will adjust, but your mindset is to go from the obesity mindset, because it's lipedema you want to focus on. Everything else falls away. And that's the interesting thing about it. But that's about you coming to community, like, say, for example, what Lipedema Simplified put on, that you can learn these things for yourself, because again, your providers don't have that knowledge. The knowledge is within our community of researchers as well as patient people, that's where the knowledge is. We have to go out and educate the providers, because it's going to take a while for them to change. Even just to get a diagnosis is going to take a while for some people.
Yeah.
I think I've covered that, Gail, sufficiently. Yeah, we're locked in a cage of obesity. We just need the right key to open it. And the key is lipedema. That's the word. Once we get that, we look at what is the lipedema health pathway. It's different than obesity, just slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Gerri?
No, the only thing I would have to say is that when Fiona says about the lipedema mindset, it can be a negative thing, but it can also be a positive thing. Once you get into the lipedema mindset, where you're out of the cage, but you're following the path of what helps my lipedema, that's where the hope comes in, and the joy in being able to move again, because you're starting to lose some of the weight, or you're understanding how your body works, and taking pride. It's like I dropped something on the floor and people were always, oh, let me get that for you. I'm like, great, it's the one thing I can do, let me do it. So I go and I lift it up, and they're all like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, it's not a show, it's just something I can do, so you can let me do that. But the lipedema mindset can be a beautiful thing once you get out of the cage. And I think that's a great way of putting it, Fiona. Just taking that key of lipedema and opening it up. So.
And we're all pretty close to the same age, or we're in the same generation, anyways. And because I'm not going to get into the ageist thing, but we've all moved through. We've all moved through we're all over about halfway done anyway. And so most of our lives, our adult lives, we've dieted to lose weight because it's been the focus. We've been told, if you just lose some weight, you'll be healthier. If you just lose some weight, you'll feel better. And yet we're going, I was telling somebody the other day, I have gained and lost the same amount of weight so many times. If you were to add it all up, I have gained and lost 1,000 pounds easily, because at 64 years old this year, and I started dieting at 10 and 11 years old. And it's just, they call it the yo-yo, the roller coaster dieting thing. Well, there's a reason it's a roller coaster. You get high as you start to lose those first 5, 10, 15 pounds, right? And then it stops at the top, and then you drop down, right? And then you get kind of low because it comes back on. And it's because it isn't the food plan. It isn't our healthy plan. We're focused only on a few things with that. We're focused on a scale number. But when we focus on the care that our body so well deserves, that our mind, that our whole self deserves, so that we can live well, when we focus on that and we realize, oh, grains make me hurt, grains make me swell, they're so inflammatory to me, I can eliminate them, but sometimes I have to just avoid them, right? I mean, it really depends on the person and where you are in your life and your emotional state. And you eventually go, okay, I'm not eating that. Does that mean that you never eat it again? For some people, yes. But for me, oh no. I eat them and then I'm going, I'm paying the price. I still haven't learned my full lesson, or I have an addiction. And I went into the grain bar, right? I went to the grain store, and I
Gail,
had,
I would just add to that. It's interesting. I thought about this because I often look back over the history just to see where things happen. Every diet, let's call it as it is, that I've ever been on, if you think in the first 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of it, maybe a bit longer, they really restrict what they eat and make you drink a whole heap of water, okay? And in that restriction, if you go back and actually pull up some of those diet sheets, if you've got any around, it will actually have lowered the carbohydrate incredibly. So you're eating salads and salads and salads, etc., right? Then after those initial first few weeks, they say to you, we're going to allow you to eat a bigger range of food. And what they do is they then introduce the carbohydrate back in. So usually in those first few weeks, you think about it, you do your journeys, you'll lose a little bit. They open that up to include the carbohydrate, and they say, oh, you're allowed a piece of potato this big, or a piece of pumpkin this big, or whatever, or one slice of bread, or whatever it is. That's when the U-turn. Now, you talked about going over the roller coaster, right? I talk about the U-turn. You start to go back up the other way. And that's when I looked over all my patterns. That's exactly what I did. I started to go back, which was the carbohydrate intensification. Big words, I know, but that's when it started to broaden out. So with the keto low carb, what we do is we just go down this journey of being really mindful of what is the carbohydrate we're eating, not just sugar, because there's concentration about sugar, but what is the carbohydrate we're eating, and how can we trim that to what, whatever we need, what our needs are, but be mindful of it. And then all of a sudden you find you're not eating as much carbs as what you used to. And that's when you start to get that impact. And the swelling comes back. Yeah.
Right. And don't you find though those diets that we were on, they had no calories to them, and so we were always hungry.
Right.
Because we didn't have any energy with them, because of course we had no fat coming in. And we've discovered that our bodies need fat. In fact, Dr. Leslie Keith, our lymphatic specialist, research specialist, she says fat fuels the lymphatic system. And I keep asking the question, could the fact that so many of us have been on low-fat diets so often in our lives, lower fat, higher carb, right, but still low calorie, could that have been part of our lymphatic dysfunction, that we weren't fueling our bodies the way they needed to be fueled? And so for me, I can tell you, if I make sure I get that fat, I can turn off my eating if I get the fat. If I don't get the fat that I need, I can't turn my switch off. It's like I'm constantly, I'm that restless, walking around the house, looking at all this, looking at all that, trying to figure out what I need. But if I get enough fat in my diet, I can turn it off. And so here's another one. Additives are even more damaging to her body. So Patsy's noticed that her body doesn't do well with additives and processed foods. And many of us have that. So we find that we need to eat a more whole food type of eating nutrition plan for ourselves. Ladies, we have been on here for an hour and 6 minutes. Already.
Time flies.
Time flies. And here's the thing. I want to share what Sing It says. Addiction, most definitely. She was fortunate not to experience lipedema pain because she was keto as she was going into menopause. She got a glimpse, no more carb craziness. And then she says she was always hungry, always white knuckling through constant cravings without the fat. Yeah. So if you don't have fats, your body's going, where's the fuel? Because there's no fuel in lettuce. I know. I can't. I tell people I have a sticker. I have a sticker on my water bottle now. I picked it up off of Etsy, and it says, "No, I don't just need to eat another salad." There is no way. I tell poor Catherine. Catherine loves salad. She'll make a big salad. I'm like, just give me the toppings. Just give me what's on top of the salad. Don't make me eat the lettuce. I've eaten so much lettuce in my life. No more for me. And then, of course, we have one more comment. Patsy says, when I want bread, I make it myself. I can occasionally do that with mild backlash. So, what is this? This is kind of cool. One more comment. This is from Lisa. I have had the best success with weight loss when I had a wound. I had to eat high protein. It worked. She finally started losing weight. Yeah, because your body needs those building blocks. Yeah. The healthier our bodies are, and we feel better. So I'm trying to wrap this up. I know you guys. We can go in one of these nights. We're gonna have a slumber party. We're gonna have a telethon, a Gail-a-thon. Oh my gosh! Don't get me started. We'll have a Gail.
I'm there.
We'll just see how long we can do this. So a Gail-a-thon. Oh my God! Don't let Catherine hear that one.
We could raise funds. In New Zealand, we used to have a telethon, and it would go through the night, and you raise funds as you went.
Yeah, that's what we could do, a Gail-a-thon. Oh, you guys get so tired of me. So next, I want to have each one of you think about it for a moment, and I would love to know as we close off, what is one message, whether it's a word or two, or whether it's 1,000, what is one message that you would like to share with our community that you would like to see echoed around the world?
Wow.
Put you on the spot.
Jerry gets to go first.
Say that again.
Gerri gets to go first.
Oh, Jerry goes first.
She threw me to the wolves. You know, there is a Christmas special that comes on with an abominable snowman. It says, or a snow witch or something. But anyways, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking through the door. I don't know if you guys know that song, but anyway, it's just you keep putting one foot in front of the other. When you stop, that's where the ruts get created. But just put one foot and try one thing. I know when you first come into this, it's like, oh, I want to try this and maybe I should try that. And all of a sudden you're trying 15 different things and nothing's working because your mind is just divided so many ways. Try one thing. Just pick something, even if it's just, doop, doop, okay, that's the one I'll try, or whatever you think you can manage, but just try something and keep putting that one foot in front of the other because there is hope, there is joy, there's movement, mobility, there's so much waiting for us. And I liked what you said, Gail. We don't know what we can't do because we've just been pushing through for so long that it's not until we actually get diagnosed and look back over what we've done with these bodies that are fighting gravity and everything else and bias and just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
That's wonderful, Gerri. Thank you. And yes, it is it's it's the abominable snowman when he's out there. Put one foot in front of the other. Yeah. Oh, Winter Warlock from Santa Claus. Yes.
That's what it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Okay, Fiona, because Gerri went first. It's your turn now.
Yeah. I think I'm the Michelin man, the tire man with the big. Have you got the Michelin man in America? Like,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes I'm like going along. I think the longer that you leave with the disease and the older I'm getting, it is getting harder. The mobility, you've got to keep your mobility. And I find, like, my mum's just moved in with me. There's things I can't do for myself that I'm having to do for her, which is interesting how to get around that. And I do get tired with this disease. I know we've had lots of conversations with that before. But you know what? I say to myself, I just have to do it in bits and pieces. So, my legs get tired at certain times of the day. And I just go down to my bed and I lay on my bed. And when I lay on my bed, I can literally feel them drain like sideways. It's like, oh, they're sort of saying, thank goodness you got off them, Fiona. I have little legs because I'm very short, but I've got wide legs, right? And so I just say, sometimes you have to rest. Do the rest. It means that in maybe 20 minutes time, you've recuperated enough that you get up and you go and do something else, whether it's to sit in your chair with your legs up. If I sit, I always say to myself, can I elevate just while I'm sitting? So I do that. Then I say, okay, in 15 minutes, I might even set the timer, the egg timer, to go. And then I get up and I go and do something more. Then I'll have another rest. So sometimes what might take somebody an hour to do, it takes me 3. But you know what? I did it. And this is what this journey for lipedema is at. Just like Gerri said, you can get something off the floor. I did it. I've done it in my time, in my way. We can do it. I keep saying we can do this, but we're just not as fast as everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I celebrate that. I celebrate that one step. And I celebrate that small step. Celebrate the rest. Hey, you know what you need to best care for yourself, to be your best person. And sometimes that's a rest. Stop pushing through. Don't white knuckle it. Give yourself that rest. Give yourself that care. And with that, ladies, thank you so much for being here tonight. Everybody has just, the audience has just been vibrant tonight. My guest, Fiona Gerri. You guys have both been vibrant. Really appreciate your time with me tonight, and I'll talk to you soon.